What were the biggest takeaways between the Sixers and the Knicks? Who was the player of the game? Is Doc Rivers? Does he got to go? Let's talk about the Sixers game. All that and more on the latest Sixers post-game live. What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Sixers Postgame Live. We are reacting to the Sixers' brutal loss here to the New York Knicks. Guys, if you're watching us live, wherever you are, make sure to comment with us live. Let us know your thoughts. This is going to be a doozy. Joining me, my man, Tiago, one of the best Sixers followers out there, period, on Twitter, at TiagoPHL. What is up, Tiago?
What is up, man? My sanity's up. That's what's up right now. It's been 2 games where the Sixers tossed away very winnable games, and it goes back to the same issue that we've been talking about for a very long time now. And I think the conversation needs to expand beyond just what we're seeing on the court. I think the conversation needs to elevate above that, and it's got to start with the general manager. Enough.
Yep. Or Joel Embiid. It's got to be one of the two to say enough is enough. We've been saying the same goddamn thing on every single post-game show. Joining us now, my man Sean from Pick Swap Media. What's going on, Sean?
Yeah, not the highest vibes after tonight. It felt like they had this one and one they just simply gave away. So I know it's the same reasons, kind of what Tiago was just saying. We've ran this story back before, but it just keeps happening, so we got to keep talking about it.
It's the same thing. You look at this game, the Sixers were up. What was it, 94? Let me pull up the stat here. With Paul Reed having arguably one of the best games of his young Sixers career. The Sixers were up 7 points late in the fourth quarter. Doc Rivers subs out Paul Reed. The Knicks finish on a 22-13 run to win the game. It's just immediately clear that Paul Reed needs to be on the court. There is nobody that can objectively tell me that Montrezl Harrell should be playing over Paul Reed. You look at it's just a tractor beam to the rim every single time Harrell is on the court inside that paint. And it feels like every time we're sitting here post-game show, we're dissecting these things, and Paul Reed gets on the floor and makes an impact. He had a huge impact in this game. What did he have here? I'm going to look at the stats. He had 6 steals and 2 blocks in 18 minutes. That one block he had that led to a Melton corner 3 was one of my favorite plays of this game. I'll throw it to you, Tiago. Like, where do we go from here?
First of all, I want to disagree with that one comment you made, Chris, because there's one person who objectively thinks Paul Reed should be on the bench. And that guy happens to be the Sixers head coach.
I think if we cut to the press conference right now, he's probably talking about how well Montrezl Harrell played.
No one's gonna. I hope it's Austin or Zach or someone that has the balls to answer.
Well,
to ask
here's
that
the thing,
question.
though. Like, he needs to be pressed on this at the press conference, and he hasn't been pressed on it for a while now because he's developed this aura that, like, if you press me, I'm gonna bark back. But it's about time somebody, one of those 500 Sixers beat writers, gets up on the podium and asks him why he continues to bench Paul Reed with the game on the line when it was clear, like you said, Chris, that the guy was making a monumental impact towards another win. You mentioned the numbers. It's even beyond the numbers. Like, if you take away all the steals and blocks, it's the ability to get on the perimeter, shuffle his feet, deflect balls, create offense from defense. It is a myriad of different things that are out there. And we were talking about before the podcast, even if you ignore the numbers, which are like overwhelmingly towards Paul Reed, if you just approach it from a basketball, I don't know anything else but I'm seeing out on the court, It is so obvious that this guy should be playing that it's getting beyond embarrassing at this point. It's utterly embarrassing what we're watching right now from Doc Rivers, point blank.
Yep, it's got someone has to speak up, and it's either going to be Daryl or it's going to be Joel, and hopefully things move forward sooner than later. What about you, Sean? What was your take on Paul Reed and kind of just this collapse in the fourth quarter?
Sean,
yeah, it's frustrating. It's like I do hope there is somebody that kind of directly asks, and even like when you read through kind of like the quotes of Doc, like it's so snippy whenever there's some sort of answer about it. Like it's like I don't get these questions when Trez is playing well, and those kind of things at the end. And it's like, but like tonight has to be a night where it happens because it was such like a crystal clear on paper, like that like 12-point swing when right after B-ball Paul steps out. It's like you said, Tiago, it's such basic just eye test thing. Like you watch it, it's like these aren't the hard hitting things. And I kind of jokingly said early on in the game when it was Thibodeau and Doc Rivers matched up, like I'm surprised either one of these guys are still here coaching. And one of these guys very clearly had a much better feel. Like even when going with the Trez and B-ball Paul 2-man lineup, we're doing this against the small ball Knicks that were just like destroying us and moving around, and it's just the same thing. I don't expect it to change, and I don't know where we go from here.
Yeah, here's the block here. I think that's Evan Fournier. Paul Reed blocks Evan Fournier. Transition, finds Melton in the corner for three. Yep. There it is, bang. That's something that was kind of the storyline of at least the third quarter and moving forward, because the first half was absolutely brutal in this one. Barely watchable, especially offensively. Neither team was shooting well. It was extremely sloppy. And the Sixers started getting defense into offense. I think they had like 3 steals and 2 blocks in the third quarter. And a big piece of that was Paul Reed. And you were heading into fourth quarter. Like, this was a comfortable lead. I don't know about you guys, but like halfway through the fourth quarter, man, I was like getting ready for a fun post-game show. Let's go to some comments real quick. RJ says Paul Reed was balling. Yes, he was. Quentin says burn it all down to the ground. Oh my gosh. Yes, they took out Paul Reed in the middle of the fourth and gave up several layups after that. Mr. Rudy Poo says Doc Rivers was not about to let the Paul Reed victory tour happen. This guy is a Celtics. that actually makes more sense than what we're seeing. That makes way more sense. Mitch, go ahead.
Sorry, Chris. It's just a lack of feel around what's happening out on the court. Like he's so set on putting guys back in the rotation that he's not absorbing what's happening out there. I mean, it's just completely disconnected from what's happening out on the court. Yes, you started the game with Montrezl Harrell. You shouldn't have, but you did. And then you see the impact that Paul Reed had on the court. But whatever the minute mark is, 7-minute mark, 6-minute mark, you're like, oh, it's time to put Montrezl Harrell back on the court with a complete, utter disregard about the outcome of the game. And that is losing coaching 101. I mean, if you're telling me that coaching does not make an impact in the outcome of games, I will show this game as evidence number 1 as to how coaching can impact the outcome of the game.
Yeah,
I fully agree.
And I had a quick second to really think this over as I had some technical difficulties. I really think what it is with Doc Rivers is I think he had his mind made up 3 years ago when Paul Reed first came to this team that he was no good. And from that moment, like as backup center has been a point of weakness for the Sixers because guys like Dwight Howard, like DeAndre Jordan just clearly haven't been it. The more people asked for Paul Reed and the more like reporters and media people and just regular people calling for Paul Reed, the more Doc Rivers like has put his back up in defense against the wall against like, he's not good, I'm not playing him. And he's so like stubbornly dug into this corner, even though that Paul Reed has drastically gotten better from when he first came in the NBA and is so necessary from a skill set aspect for what this Sixers team needs. Doc is just so deep in that corner and refuses to back himself out of it.
It's pride, man. We've talked about that many times on these shows. Like there's a pride variable for Doc and he just refuses to budge.
But winning should be like so much more important than that. Like you just have to prioritize. Like it's damaging the team. It just so clearly is.
Yeah, I mean, this team has had issues with holding themselves accountable, and that starts from the top. And Doc has always been among the leaders of that, and that goes back to the Ben Simmons days and things like that. My man Mitch says I need to get my frustrations out. RJ says Niang is getting way too many minutes. He cannot guard anybody. As much as I love Niang, like hitting those threes, those catch and shoot threes, he just does. He gives you even more or less, I guess, on the defensive side. Hope we hear some Maxey criticism tonight. We'll see about that. We're going to get into Tyrese Maxey next. Rudy Poo says, can Keith Pompey grow a pair and press Doc Rivers about Paul Reed? These guys got no backbone. Austin, are you watching? Are you hearing us? Oh, my God. Would you ask, what's his face? Popovich, that question, right? Yeah.
Oh no! Don't be
I tagged
tagging
Sam Cassell in a Thiago tweet, pleading him to free Paul Reed. Maybe that got Reed some more playing time this game. I mean, did he get a season high minutes tonight? He probably did. What did Paul Reed play?
It gotta be. Played 18.
18. That's got to be the season high.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, Chris, I just want to wrap up the Paul Reed bow on Daryl Morey. Because you signed Montrezl Harrell. Last year, you signed DeAndre Jordan. The year before that, you signed Dwight Howard. What are we doing? Like, this is it, man. You got Joel Embiid, you got James Harden for 1 or 2 more years. This is it. What are we doing? I mean, I'm sure there's some numbers behind numbers that you're looking at and may think that this is okay. At the rate that we're going, it's going to be April, and this head coach is going to be playing Montrezl Harrell in the critical moment of a playoff game. So what are we doing? Are we ready to do it one more time or not?
Which he literally was fired from the Clippers for that exactly.
So, we're going to be complaining about the same thing all season long. We're going to be complaining about the same thing come playoff time when Paul Reed needs to play major minutes, and the Sixers are going to fall flat on their face every time. Dave says, go ahead.
It may just be like that Paul Reed, as he plays throughout the year, may end up being like, all right, he's not that guy that I'm going to have behind Joel Embiid. But you need to find out.
Right.
And if you have the season to find out, and the event that he's not the guy, then you make a move off that. One thing we all agree, everybody who's watched basketball agrees that Montrezl Harrell is not the guy. So what are we doing? What are we doing, man? We're gonna do this again? So it's something more. And I'm tired of this guy getting a pass in this town, man. I'm tired. Like, this is the year. Get it done now. So we'll see.
There is more of a chance that Doc Rivers makes Daryl Morey sign or trade for a veteran big rather than play Paul Reed. Is that incorrect?
Unfortunately.
I think that's spot on.
I agree, unfortunately. Yeah.
All right. Mr. Rudy Poo says, can we mention how many minutes the starters are playing? Dude, we've been talking about that every post-game show, man. It's nuts. Hot take. Quentin is no longer on the Maxey bandwagon. That's an interesting take. I don't trust his decision-making or play creation. The dude is averaging 30 points a game. I know points per game is – we'll get into Maxey really, really soon. Big Al says, I used to say Doc wasn't the problem, but I am done with him. I love it. All right. And last but not least, Mr. Rudy Poo says, Paul Reed's hustle makes up for all the defensive mistakes the guards commit. Is it not obvious? For Doc Rivers, it is not obvious. Let's get into Tyrese Maxey. Over the last 5 games heading into this one, 30 points a game. Finished this one with 31 points, 10 of 29 shooting, 29 shots. I want to look into that to see how many, where that kind of lies among his career high with the Sixers. Got to the line 7 times, had 7 assists, 4 turnovers. Lead us off, Sean. Like, what was your quick thoughts on Tyrese Maxey while I get up his shot chart?
Yeah, it sounds like people are more critical of him than I think I am. To me, it's one of those like somebody's got to take the shots. Somebody has to step up and do it. He definitely took that on himself tonight. It obviously wasn't a perfect night from him. 10 for 29 is not good. 4 for 13 is not great. But like who else is going to kind of fill in? Like Tobias didn't get anything going in the moments he tried to take over. He got a couple. Tobias decent night, but like he's just not a shot creating guy. And looking at like PJ Tucker doesn't want to shoot the ball. D'Anthony Melton I thought was really good. We just needed like a guy to step in and kind of take the role, and I thought Maxey did that. So he had that brief period of time where he did get hot and kind of set the place on fire. Right in the third quarter. So I thought he was good overall. He's not perfect. He's still learning, but I thought it was like a good experience for him to kind of have the full reins, and I think it was overall positive.
Yeah, there was a moment in the third quarter where Tyrese Maxey had a step back ISO jumper, and then right after that had a ridiculous step back 3-pointer from deep, and he had 10 straight points for the Sixers that got the Sixers back in this game. 10 straight points for Tyrese Maxey in that third quarter. Here is his shot chart. Look at that, 5 of 13 in the paint. That is not Tyrese Maxey. And then 3 of 12 is also not Tyrese Maxey. But that's what happens, man. When you have the keys to the offense, you're not going to have it every night. Tiago, what was your take on Maxey's?
Yeah, 3-point shooting is volatile. Maxey is shooting over 40% from 3. He's one of the league leaders in spot-up points. He's one of the league leaders in transition points. He's averaging close to 25 points a game. I don't know how you can watch that third quarter and not think Tyrese Maxey is trending towards all-star potential. I mean, that is clear as day that this kid is nearing that all-star nomination level kind of player. I hear Quinn's point around the playmaking. Playmaking was never a strong point of his. Chris, we can go back to 2 years ago when you and I were like looking at him out of Kentucky. Yeah. That clearly stood out as playmaking, something that was not in his MMA. He's not going to be asked to play make with James Harden on here when James does come back from his injury. So I'm less concerned about that. What I focus on Maxey is the aggression. I love the aggression. The 29 shots, yeah, that's too much. There's nobody else in the court that can take the shots. But you're seeing a guy that when Joel Embiid is not on the court, he has taken ownership of the offense. And I think for his own well-being, for the well-being of the team, that's a positive sign, man. Like, they're going to need this guy in the playoffs if they want to win a championship. So him getting, these experiences and these games under his belt, I think is going to bode well for Max in the long run. So I think I don't see this. Yeah, people are going to call out the pass to Tobias Harris late, which was horrendous, and perhaps some other decisions. But overall, I mean, they're not even close to anything tonight if it's not for Tyrese Maxey. So yeah, the way that I saw the game tonight.
This comment here by Rudy Poo says Maxey is playing too many minutes. He does look tired by the fourth quarter. Coming into this game, he was averaging 38 minutes a game, played nearly 40 minutes, I believe, in this one. That's what happens, man. When you get those tired legs, your shot starts to fall short, and that's what happens, man. We've been talking about that a lot on these shows as well.
But who else are you going to play, right? So
exactly,
they don't invest on draft capital and ball handlers that can potentially develop over time, right? Shake Milton is the next guy in line. We've said this a million times. Shake Milton's not a point guard. He's never been a point guard in the NBA. He's been out of necessity, but there's nothing about Shake Milton who screams point guard. They can get a free agent, somebody who can step in occasionally. I mean, the guy's playing too many minutes. At this point in time, he's young. He can do that, but I agree with you guys. Like, he should be taking these off here and there, but they literally have nobody else on the roster that can handle load when James Harden is out, period. Yeah. Just the way
I think that circles back to a Daryl Morey thing, too, when just looking at it. Like, James Harden is the only real playmaker, the only true point guard on this roster. Like, Maxey can kind of do it, but he's definitely not going to excel in, like, a primary playmaking role. And looking beyond that, like, coming into tonight, Harden ranked 10th in the NBA and Maxey ranked 4th in the NBA in minutes per game. And that's just kind of crazy to do that through a whole season. Yeah. So maybe rather than signing Montrezl Harrell, who's fully – we see what we got, maybe add like another guy into this mix who can handle the ball, maybe defend a little bit on the perimeter. Something like that, to me, is way more glaring of a need for the Sixers team. And I mean, I don't know what they do now because we're kind of maybe there's a trade that fixes that, but in the grand scheme of things, but they're gonna just be holding a lot of mileage as long as the roster is the way it is.
Yeah, right. Patrick's in the house. What's up? The mismatches low in the paint without Harden. Defense are going to lock eyes on Maxey. We've already seen it this year when Harden's just locked in, and Doc has no idea what to do when teams start double teaming him. Like these are just ongoing conversations we've had about Doc Rivers and his inability to adjust. Big Al says the team just seems so haphazard. That is from Doc. It just screams like low basketball IQ. Like I get they have the pieces to run heavy ISO ball, but you look at it like this team is nearly dead last in cutting to the basket. They're nearly dead last when it comes to screens and shooting off screens. Like it's the same Doc playoff offense, and that to me is inexcusable. Is absolutely inexcusable when you're coming into possibly the deepest rotation Joel Embiid has ever had, and with James Harden, fully healthy coming into this season, that screams to me that I don't even think Doc has a firm grip on what or where this team is projecting to be.
Can I just make one more point on just the Maxey Doc Rivers thing, because I think that shows a complete lack of feel around coaching. So yeah. Mitch Robinson is their rim protector, was out injured at some point in the second quarter. They had no rim protector out on the court from the second quarter on. They had Isaiah Hartenstein, the guy's name, at playing center. Like if I'm the head coach, man, I am calling that switch every single time with Tyrese Maxey until they put the guy off the court. Yeah. I'm playing that guy off the court because there's no way you can tell me that Isaiah Hartenstein can stay in front of Maxey. There's just no way. Mm-hmm. But he runs that play once every other quarter. And it's like your bread and butter offense, man. I mean, you see teams like Dallas with Luka. I'm not comparing Maxey to Luka, but Luka's playing guys off the court every single night. Right. It's common sense basketball. Here, you're going to put this guy on me. I'm going to score over and over again until you have to bench the guy and put in your third string center. So, I mean, just complete lack of feel around what's happening on the court. It's complete lack of feel.
And it's another theme. It's one of those, the in-game adjustments, the being able to just like have an answer to another coach's like adjustments or just create something on the fly. It just hasn't been there. And it's so frustrating that it's like so much of this are like simple basketball observations. Like we're not calling for these hard-hitting, draw up this crazy play, whatever. It's like, it's so clear what just should be happening. And it's like, it's just not. So I don't know. It's crazy for me the amount of basketball Doc Rivers has played, coached, been around, that like that type of on the fly feel just doesn't seem to be there whatsoever.
Yeah. Mike's saying 10 of 29. Maxey is a straight up crumb bum. Wow. What are we doing here? Come on, Mike. You're better than that. Mr. Rudy Poo says, while the team doesn't set real screens, they haven't set real screens for years. The players just go through the motion, but the defenders never hit it. Joel Embiid has never learned how to set a real screen.
That's true.
Big Al says, I have seen better scheming in the schoolyard pickup game. Wow, I love it. Maxey doesn't orchestrate the offense, no matter just how many points he scores in a random game in November. I mean, that kind of goes into like what you project Maxey to be. Like, I mean, that's kind of, I don't know. Like, I would love to hear your guys' thoughts on that because I never really saw. I mean, it's hard to say because Maxey's development, especially last year and so forth, kept pushing back the sticks when it comes to projecting this dude's ceiling. So could he take that next step when it comes to slowing, the game slowing down for him, finding open guys around the basket, finding open shooters, things like that as a true point guard? That's never been my vibe. I've always seen this dude as just one of those microwave shooters, starters off the bench, 6th man of the year, guy that can put up buckets in a hurry, that kind of guy. But that's always been my gut feeling, but that could be totally wrong because Maxey continues to shock everybody. But what are your thoughts on that? Like, do you think Maxey could potentially down the road be a guy that is a floor general?
I don't know about floor general, But for this team, you're talking about one of the best catch and shoot players in the NBA. I mean, if James Harden's running point guard, he absolutely has room in May and June in this offense. I don't know. Something happened. I want to hear that.
Oh, Mike, dude, no. Just stop.
I love it.
we probably get Ben back pretty cheap these days. I feel
I think any team could probably get Ben back if they really wanted to.
Yeah. But yeah, I think Maxi's gonna be a guy. He's gonna be capable as a playmaker, but not like a floor general type guy. He's gonna be a guy whose scoring sets up his playmaking. Kind of, I don't compare him exactly to this in like a stylistic way, but I see Dame Lillard as kind of a pathway in the way that he's a scoring dominant guard, capable enough that his scoring creates for others, but like not traditionally a guy that's just gonna run an offense, and that's totally okay.
Yeah. All right, let's briefly call him Tobias Harris. Tobias Harris had 23 points in this one. Sharing my screen real quick. There it is. What's that?
I just want to say one more thing. They were asking Doc Rivers why he played Reed and Harold together. Rebounding and size was his answer. So make it of it what you will out of that. We're playing basketball in 1994 all over again.
Doc has no reason to talk about rebounding and size when he had PJ Tucker defend Porzingis for an entire game.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Just stop.
And George's Niang.
It's just a joke. Like, all right, let's get into Tobias Harris, who arguably probably had his best game of the year. 23 points, 9 of 15 from the floor, 3 of 7 from 3. Thiago, you got to be liking Toby putting up a lot more 3-pointers this year. He had 9 rebounds, 4 assists, a steal, and 2 blocks. I'll throw it to you, Thiago. What was your quick reaction to Toby tonight?
Yeah, one of the, again, top 10 players in spot-up points, top 10 player in catch-and-shoot threes. This is a Toby that we have screamed for a very long time. He's clearly evolved as a role player in this offense, and I give him credit for accepting that role and not trying to hijack the offense with his dribbling. Tonight, obviously, he needed more from him. I thought for the most part, he did his part. But again, it's Tobias Harris. It's 20 points, 6 rebounds, limited to no defensive impact. What it is at this point, but I thought he had a very good game. There's nothing I think said badly about Tobias tonight.
Like when I think of Tobias Harris, I didn't see any like kind of bubbling the ball in transition like we have seen every single game this year. But there's a shot chart, man. A lot of green there. 1 of 2 from the corners. Did well in the paint. Hit a mid-range bucket. What are your thoughts, Sean?
Yeah, I thought defensively he was pretty good tonight. I thought he had some real good moments on defense. Kind of like we're kind of circling back to the same old Tobias. Like I give him a ton of credit for becoming much more comfortable off the catch and shoot. He's made himself a much better player because of that. But like when he's asked to do more, it's just not really there. Like even the moments tonight where he kind of took him on, it's just like a kind of bangs into a guy to try and back him down and doesn't really create any separation, just rises up and shoots it. And he hits it sometimes and it works, but that's kind of like, that's all you're getting from a creation aspect out of him. So he's a guy who I not that I expected him to step up more than he did. I thought he was pretty good overall, but I just don't think he unfortunately is a guy who you can count on to be a go-to scorer on a possession when Harden and Embiid are out.
Yeah. He's the highest paid player on this team, correct?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
Joel might have made more now.
I don't know, man. I want to look that up. But where would you rank him in terms of like best player on the Sixers? Where is he at?
5th, maybe.
5th?
Yeah, let me think. Definitely Embiid, Harden, Maxey.
Yeah, he's
DeAnthony Melton, I think, is more important to this team.
Tobias Oh my God, check this out. Yeah, I was right. I'm going to share my screen here, Tiago. Go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
I like talking to Sean about Melton because I think defensively he has been very good. There's no question, but I have been very underwhelmed by Melton offensively so far. They try to use him as a ball handler. You can clearly tell like he doesn't have a great feel for it. Yeah, I think the shot's going to come out. It's going to stabilize over time, but yeah, I mean, I haven't been particularly super impressed by Melton offensively. Defensively, in the last couple of days, he's been phenomenal.
I think the offense has to catch up, but I've been liking D'Anthony Melton. I think part of what made Melton look so good over the last handful of games was his minutes with James Harden. So that injury hurts him significantly. Just my take. What about you, Sean?
Yeah, and I think like I agree. I don't think he's at his best as a natural ball handler or playmaker whatsoever. I think his best role offensively is going to be that guy, the semi Bruce Brown role where he's popping to the top of the free throw line, where he can make kind of quick reads out of that. That I love him in, and I think that's going to be when things settle in his best case. But he's obviously tonight was forced into some more ball handling roles and probably will be for the next month, which I don't think is the best thing for him. But defensively, he's been everything I hope for him more for sure.
Yeah. So there it is. Tobias Harris makes the most money on the Sixers team this year, $37 million. He's going to make $39 million next year, which is absurd.
That's fully guaranteed, right?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. There's no way they're getting out of that contract. Zero chance. All right. Let's roll into some player of the games. Yam says, I'm so tired of basketball politics. Just play the best players, man. The object should be winning basketball games, not feeding your own personal ego. And that's what this is all about. Tobias is Nick Castellanos. I love that take, Mr. Rudy Poo. I'm all for that one. Yeah, I'm all for that. Although Tobias probably has a little more patience than Castellanos. All right, let's roll into player of the game. Thiago, lead us off. Who's your player of the game?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to steal the obvious. I think Tyrese Maxey is clearly the player of the game. Yeah, I'm interested to see what the type of player we're going to get with Maxey over the next month or so with Harden being out. I think, when Joel comes back, hopefully in the next 10 years. No, I'm just joking. He'll be back soon. We'll see perhaps Joel doing some more of the ball handling stuff that he was doing last year and doing some creation like it was when Ben was out. So we'll see. I mean, right now, I am focused on more of the process than the results. And I'm not particularly happy with the process so far the Sixers are using to get the results that they're not getting. So, we'll see. But right now, Maxey was the player of the game for me.
What about you, Sean?
I'm giving it to B-Ball Paul. I have to.
Yeah.
I'm pounding the table for him forever. In 18 minutes, he got 6 steals and 2 blocks. That's just absurd numbers. And, I mean, this team needs him. So he made an impact tonight. He did everything he could while he was in to help them win. He made an extremely positive impact in that regard. And I think without B-Ball Paul, that they weren't nearly as close in the position to get the win as they ended up in, and could have been in a much better spot if he was rode out a little farther.
Yeah, that's where I wanted to go, obviously. I knew Sean was going to take B-Ball Paul for me. Quentin says B-Ball Paul, the victory tour, that was cut short yet again. I thought Melton had some moments in this one defensively. He had 2 blocks and 2 steals. The shooting will come along, but I like the 11 3-point attempts, man. Keep shooting. The dude is a good shooter. It'll happen. It'll happen in time. Tobias Harris had another great game. My player of the game is, I'm going to give it to Phillies fans, man. They're down right now. Phillies fans are down right now, and I just want to say, like, it was just a magical postseason. And for my boys like Mark Henry Jr., my man Joe, John, like those guys have Amadeo. Those guys have ride or die with this Phillies team all season long, and I'm feeling for them. So I just want to shout those guys out because they're straight up depressed, I'm sure, as we head into Game 6 tomorrow night. What?
You think it's over?
No. Well, I think the magic is over. I think the magic is over. The balls are not bouncing. They're not getting those bloop hits, those timely bloop hits, and dribblers down the line like they were getting in the previous series. I'm not saying the Phillies are done, but the odds are stacked against them. I just don't have that same feeling right now. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I think if they get the pitching performance from Wheeler tomorrow night, man, I kind of like Ranger Game 7. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, if there's someone to play a Game 7, like it would probably be Ranger, right?
Yeah,
definitely.
All right, so let's wrap it up with plugs and final thoughts on the game. We'll go backwards. Sean, do us off, man.
Yeah, you guys can follow me on Twitter at Sean_Bernard1. Check out my written work on heavy.com. And make sure to check out Pick Swap Media on YouTube and all the socials as well.
Look at this guy. Acknowledge me. Jesus. What about you, Tiago?
You guys can find me at TiagoPHL on Twitter, where I'll be going back and screaming more Doc Rivers thoughts throughout the night. So, yeah, make sure to check it out.
It's getting very like not disrespecting Doug Peterson, Eagles vibes, but like that tail end. But when that horrible season ended, and the last like handful of those games where you're just complaining about the same thing every single post game show, every single week. Doug Peterson has the playbook here. He's not watching what's happening on the field. It's the same stuff. That's my gut feeling right now. I worked all day. I wasn't able to get any Eagles videos out today like I always do when the game ends. So tomorrow I'll have all the highlight reels and breakdowns and things like that. So keep an eye out for that, as well as NFL draft content. Really big games on tomorrow. Georgia, Tennessee is going to be a good one. I think Alabama plays someone good as well. Who's that?
LSU.
LSU has some really, really good young players on that squad as well. So football, baby. It's going to be a good day tomorrow. Follow my man Tiago on Twitter at TiagoPHL, one of the best Sixers followers, period. Both of you guys are the best, like literally Sixers follows, period. My man at Sean_Bernard. Check out Pick Swap Media. All that kind of stuff wherever you find your podcast, Sixers, Eagles, you name it. And then check out thepaintedlines.com, YouTube, you name it. Edge of Philly Sports, POPsports.com, Philly Sports Alliance. Amazing content on Facebook if you love Philly sports. Share the love. Give everyone a like, subscription, you name it, if you could be kind enough. So for Tiago, for Sean, for myself, we'll see you on the next post game. Stay awesome, everyone.